Alan Brazil has gave his 2 cents on the Atletico Madrid bid for Matt O'Reilly, and apparently there's going to be a lot of teams scrambling for him. Welcome back to Fog Football, and he's simply come out and said that Desmond doesn't need any more money. Well, we kind of already knew that, Alan, so we don't really need that to point out. You know, Celtic sitting on their war chest have got no real reason to accept this. You know, obviously Celtic fans raging about the fact that they've got so much money. Brenda was promised that he'd be able to spend a lot of money, right? And yeah, and they haven't. I mean, they spent it on Nicholas Kuhn, and I'm sorry, Nicholas Kuhn isn't exactly doing it for me in terms of a big player. 2.8 million on a guy he's had half a decent spell at Rapid Vienna, but before then, he was a bit of a flop at Ajax and Bayern. What I would say though is, he must have been at those two clubs for a reason. Maybe Celtic feel like they can unlock his potential, and if they could, maybe he'll be good. But, you know, I think Celtic were expecting to be signing players this window, not losing them. And the reality is, with this bid in for Matt O'Reilly, it looks like they could definitely be losing him. But let's see what Alan Brazil was saying, because, as he says, he joked, he says, Dermot Desmond doesn't need the money. And of course he doesn't need the money, but which was going to be a signing window for Celtic. Looks like a holding on, begging for the transfer deadline bell to slam shut, or whatever the hell what happens on deadline day. It's not really a bell, it's more just the door closes. You know, the door's slightly ajar right now on the 25th of January, but soon it will be it will be done. And the longer this waits, you know, Celtic might not have time to replace him. Even if Matt O'Reilly left them on the 1st of January, I don't see how Celtic would be signing a person that would fulfill the hole that he's left in that midfield. Even though in recent games, Paulo Bernardo's been grabbing goals and assists, right? And he looks quite good. I mean, even with my blue tinted specs on, I can't deny that he looks like a good player. He's definitely turning up for the second half of his loan. I just look at Celtic, and I'm thinking, how could you just can't replace a player like O'Reilly with the stats that he's brought this season. And yeah, you could bring in someone that, you know, could be young and has the potential, but to come in as a replacement, it would be pretty much unheard of for that to happen. So it looks like to keep in line with the financial fair play rules. That's the reason why Atletico want to sign him on loan initially. This just seems to be the way of football in the 2020s, even though that is the correct decade. It's a weird bit of terminology. It just doesn't sound right. It's not quite the 90s. The 2000s, that sounds right. The 20s, the rolling 20s, the rolling 40s, the thunderous, whatever. But we just see that more now in football. It's like even with, you know, you think of like Arsenal signing Raya on loan, but, you know, we all know they've got him essentially. And I guess with Rangers and Celtic, we do a lot of loan deals up here, and that goes for the entire league, the entire pyramid. Not many of them get made permanent, if we're being honest about it. And then it looks like around 20 million is the obligation to buy. So is that fair? Would Celtic fans feel hard done by? Potentially, but English Premier League clubs are also expected to join the battle for O'Reilly, who signed a recent contract extension at Celtic and become key to Brendan Rodgers, just as he was under predecessor Ange Postecoglou. And with Rangers cutting the gap at the top of the table to 5 points, of course, that was a great wee victory last night for Rangers, taking on the Hibernian at Easter Road. Alan Brazil is begging the Hoops to keep O'Reilly at the club. You can't get rid of him. You're not allowed to get rid of him. He says you can't sell him. They've got to be very careful, because I keep saying to people, if Rangers somehow beat Celtic at Ibrox, he says if Rangers somehow, you know, we've been pished this season in the Old Firms, you know what, completely unforgivable, but let's not pretend that it would take an absolute miracle for Rangers to beat Celtic. And Celtic fans know that. You know, even the most biased of fans know that an Old Firm can go on the turn ahead. This ain't the era before Gerrard came in and Brendan was there, and, you know, where we were, I mean, getting fucking scudded every single game, 5s, 4s, whatever, couldn't buy a win. It's nowhere near like that, right? It's nowhere near like that. So people need to say, really, I mean, if Rangers somehow, I mean, it's a fucking Ibrox. At least if it was a Celtic Park, I could half understand it to a degree. He says, if we win at Ibrox and win their games in hands, it's tight. We're 1 point ahead, mate. That's more than tight. That's in bloody pregnable. And when co-presenter and former, Gabby out of Bonlow, not really going to listen to what he said, would Celtic sell for a good price? Alan said, no. Mr. Desmond doesn't need their money. Anyway, that's where we're going to leave this video. Alan Brazil is saying, do not sell. Will Celtic sell? Folk Football cover it every step of the way. Until next time, peace.